Hello, my dear pearls. How is everyone doing on this second day of 2023? Oh my God, what an amazing year 2022 was. Especially when I think of my own year and where I was and where I am today. It's just an amazing journey that I've had in 2022. It's been an amazing journey for a while now, but 2022 was really very interesting one for me, and it was really one that made a lot of difference in my life. I hope everyone enjoyed that shift from 2022 to 2023, and I really, really wish this year is going to be an amazing one for all of you. I just, I was walking, Lucky, my dog, right? Like by now you should know Lucky, my dog. So I was walking him, and I remember the time when I used to stay at home all the time and never go outside and really not sit in nature. And I remember how it used to make me feel gloomy and down. And walking the dog all the time and just going for walks and enjoying nature is such an amazing thing. And I hope that we can all do it, because it's really something that makes your mind like kind of wander elsewhere instead of being stuck where you are, or where you want to be stuck, or where your mind wants you to be stuck. And part of being stuck is actually the topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is procrastination. And there's a reason why I decided to start the year with this topic. Because, every end of year we sit and we kind of reflect on the time we had and the experiences we've had in the year. And we start thinking about what we did and what we're going to be doing next. And this is why I wanted to talk about procrastination specifically today. Now, we're going to be together for around an hour, okay? And I want you to stick around, because at the end of this live, I have an invitation for you. So stick around and let's hit it. Now, procrastination for me, it's a very dear topic, because it is one of the main reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing today. And what I'm doing today basically is exactly sharing my story and sharing my own experience and how I did it. And I truly believe if I did it, anyone can do it. In my own mind, I really think that all of us are equal when it comes to our divinity, when it comes to our divine rights, and when it comes to how abundant we are and how amazing we are and how perfect we are. The perfection of the creator himself or herself. That great super consciousness. So for me, I truly believe this. And this is why, if I can do something, I truly believe that everyone can do it as well. And if you can do something, I know that I will be able to do it too. Because at the end of the day, we all are divine and we all have these strengths. But what happens is, throughout life, when we go through life and when we experience all the things that we kind of put ourselves in to experience, we sort of forget how divine we are, and how strong we are, and how resilient we are. And these are actually the virtues that we are learning throughout our lifetime. Some of us learn them faster, some of us learn them easier, and some of us learn them harder. So, but we all go through that process, and we all go through that evolution from the minute we are born, and from the minute we come to this planet, we come to this Mother Earth, who is embracing us and teaching us a lot. I mean, just by looking, and maybe this is why I started by talking about nature and Mother Earth, just by looking at Mother Earth and seeing everything that Mother Earth gives us, it makes you wonder like how deserving we are to actually receive all of this from Mother Earth and from our surrounding and our environment. Now, as we grow and as we go through our experiences, we go through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of things, and a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, a lot of experiences. And all of this becomes kind of who we are. It becomes us. We become that. And those experiences, they differ from one person to another. But what I see lately and what I've noticed lately is that a lot of people are stuck in one place. And a lot of people are not physically stuck. When I say stuck, I don't mean physically. I mean in their mind, in the way they are living, in the way they are thinking, in the way they are leading their life. And that stuckness is caused by so many things, but one of the major things that, or one of the major, it's not a cause, it's actually a way to realize that you are stuck somewhere, is when you start procrastinating. And when I talk about procrastination here, I don't mean like the procrastination of you putting off a task or a simple task that you wanted to do today and just putting it off for tomorrow, or putting it off for like another hour or two, or maybe even a week, you know. I'm talking about like the chronic procrastination, the procrastination that actually makes you physically and mentally become different. So let me share my story with you, and this way it will give you more insight as to what kind of procrastination I'm talking about. So a few years back, I was in a place where I was not very happy with what I'm doing, like job-wise, right? And I felt like I had a lot more to give. I had this very strong feeling that there's so much more that I can do, there's so much more that I can give, and I wanted to do that. So I started working with my brain that I really cherish, and and I really believe, like, I have this really nice relationship with my head because I can talk to my head a lot of the times. So then I decided that, you know what, I want to do something. And I started digging and I started going into that brain of mine to see where it is that I can, you know, thrive, or that what are the things that I can do to make me, you know, want to do what I want, what I do, to make me love what I do, because I wasn't happy at that time. So I came up with this amazing idea for a TV show. And very few people actually know about this. I don't usually talk about it, but hey, I'm telling you. So I came up with this idea for this TV show, and it was very different idea and really kind of out of the box. And I started working on it, and I dug and I did all the hard work that can be done for anyone to bring something to life. I did my research, I did my connections, I did my writings, I did my mind mapping, and I put episodes on paper. I put all the topics that I wanted to talk about. I even made a list of people that I would want to interview. I mean, what have you? Everything that you can think about, I did. I even spoke to producers. And I really, really wanted to do this. And then suddenly, I had like a few calls with several producers, and they gave me the insights on what is required, what is needed, how much time this might take, how much money it might need, and all the details that you can think of. Like, I literally had a proper business plan to go ahead with that idea and just execute it. And the minute things started kind of materializing in front of my eyes and started becoming real, like it's not just an idea anymore, it's becoming very active, and it's almost about to be born, like physically and really born. And then suddenly I would completely lose interest. I would start consciously looking for issues in that amazing plan that I had put together. I would consciously start like drifting from this idea and start formulating something new in my head that would detach me from this idea, from this project that I had in my mind. And it was so close to becoming real. So I would start, and I did start, a different idea in my head. And that different idea, I went through the same process. I became so obsessed with it. I became so focused on it. I forgot everything else, and I just dug deep into that. I did the research. I did the connections. I did everything that needed to be done. And again, the minute things became so close to being realized, I would cool off. Something would just stop me. And this kept on happening like for almost a whole year. This is what was happening with me. Like, can you imagine going through the same process over and over and over again for a whole year, 365 days, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more, but just imagine that time that I had spent on doing all of this, but at the same time kind of doing nothing, because there were no results. There was nothing materializing. And nothing was materializing not because nothing was materializing. Nothing was materializing because I was always finding a way to stop things. I was always, every time I became close, I would look for that loophole where something is wrong, or where like that thing that I can point out that is not right, that is going to sabotage the whole process and the whole thing and the whole idea and the whole plan and everything I've been working on for hours and days and weeks and sometimes months. Then suddenly I realized I started talking to my brain, which I do a lot, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing all of this? Why do I keep pushing things? Why do I keep procrastinating? Why do I keep like finishing stuff and then suddenly I would stop and put them aside? And this is what I meant when I said those things that are lurking in the shadows. Those are my ideas, those are my plans, and they are there, but they're never being done. They're never being put to execution. Why was I doing this? So the minute I realized that this is a pattern, like throughout that year, it was a pattern, And when I started digging and looking at why I'm doing all of this, I realized that it wasn't a pattern on like that happened only during that year. I realized that I have been doing this for so long in my life. I've been going through experiences, and every time I go through an experience, the minute things start becoming close to flourishing and, becoming alive, I would do something to just stop everything and to sabotage everything. I did it when I was in the corporate world. I did it to myself when I was thriving and I was doing amazing, and I was, wanting to be even more and wanting to do even more than what I was doing. And then I would find something, to just sabotage me. I wasn't really sabotaging anyone else. I wasn't stopping anyone else from growing. I wasn't stopping anyone else from becoming the best version of who they are. I was only stopping me, and I was finding excuses for me to stay where I was. Now, when I started thinking about it and I took a decision, a very conscious decision, I realized that that was the first thing that took me from point A to point B in that journey of getting over my procrastination, of becoming someone. I call myself an ex-procrastinator because I don't do it anymore. I mean, sometimes obviously you do things like, it's not really procrastination, like when putting things off for another day or another week, yes, but, and maybe even completely stop working on things. That's what I mean by procrastination. Like when you completely put something away that you've been working so hard on. So the minute I realized that I was having this issue, for me, that awareness, and this is one of the things that I want you to remember when you look at how you are, like what kind of life you are leading, and during this season of your life, how are things happening in your life? Are you procrastinating? Are you stuck? And because most of the time we don't ask ourselves these questions. Most of the time we just live, and like we go with the flow of how life is going for us, and we just, we take that train and we don't even stop. It's like a non-stop journey. We don't even stop and take a breath and maybe I want to get off on the next station. But yeah, no, we don't do that. So what I'm trying to say is, the minute you start asking, and that awareness that comes to your mind that, hey, okay, gosh, I'm actually stuck. I'm actually procrastinating on the big things, on the important things. And my life is at a standstill. Even though time is passing, even though you think you are doing so much, but then you're doing nothing, just like what happened to me for a whole year. The minute you are aware, and the minute you have that, idea that, okay, I'm stuck and I'm doing this and I keep on repeating this, that awareness is the number one key for you to actually start moving away from that state that you are in, that stuckness state and that state of procrastination. I I say stuckness because procrastination is one of the reasons, or one of the symptoms of being stuck. There are so many other symptoms, and today my focus is on procrastination, but there are so many other symptoms for to know that we are stuck. Procrastination is one of them. And a lot of people don't realize how they do it, and how procrastination makes them stuck, and they connect it to, but no, I want this to be perfect, because I used to do that as well all the time. Like, no, I'm not doing this until it's perfect. But as I always say, perfection, as we understand it, doesn't really exist. So there is, this is the excuse for us to keep on procrastinating, to stay stagnant, to be just who we are, where we are, and not move an inch. And we use that as our excuse to procrastinate. I want things to be perfect. Or, maybe if I do it this way, it's better. Or maybe if I do it this way, it's better. Those maybes, all those maybes, they will keep us where we are. They will never make us move forward. So when we do that, and when we realize that we are procrastinating, we are already stepping into that movement of getting away from procrastination. What I also realized when I did it, when I used to do it, is that what was happening with me, the why question that I asked, why am I doing this? Why am I stopping myself when it's so close to happening? When I'm this close to succeeding in something, why do I always sabotage it? Why do I put myself in this situation? The minute I started asking that why question, oh my God, the answers that I received are so mind-blowing. But the most important one is the one that made me understand how I'm going to get out of my procrastination. Because that was the major reason why I was procrastinating. And they're actually two, but they're intertwined and connected. So every time I was close to doing what I wanted to do, every time I was close to becoming who I wanted to become, I would sabotage this because I was afraid. And fear here is so, it's so strong and so daunting that we don't even know that this is the reason why we are doing this. I only knew when I started asking, and I only started asking when I became aware that I had an issue. So awareness is the first thing that we want to have, and awareness is the first thing that we want to acknowledge, that we have an issue. There is a problem. I am procrastinating. I'm stuck. Why? Why am I stuck? Why do I keep on doing this? When I asked my why, the answer was, you're afraid. I was afraid of two things. And fear is also a very, very strong, limiting belief. And it's one of the limiting beliefs that we work on a lot in the Awaken the Champion Within You program, the program that I'm working on. Fear is that limiting belief that will always keep you away from realizing the things that you want to realize. Fear is what will stop you achieving the desires that you have, the goals that you really, really desire. And fear is what will make you procrastinate. I was afraid of two things. I was afraid to fail, and failure for me back then was not an option. It was not an option. I used to be someone who would be very conscious about what people would think and what people would say, and oh, she failed and she's a failure, and I didn't want to know about this. I didn't want to hear about this. I didn't want anything to do with that, with those words that might come or might not come from others. So I would create those scenarios in my head, and this is how it works. We create those scenarios in our head so that we do not move forward with what we are doing just because we are afraid to fail. And failure, what is failure? Failure is just not being able to reach your desires and your goals. And success, that's the other fear that I was having. Fear of success. And believe it or not, yes, it is a real fear. It is a real and a very, very, like the one that I had was really deep. And I actually found out that I had it not too long ago, that I was afraid to succeed. Because with success, there's a big responsibility, and I was afraid that I would have to carry that responsibility. The questions I used to ask myself, like, do I have it in me? Am I able to do this? These are questions that we ask ourselves not because we can't or we don't have that capacity. We ask ourselves these questions because these questions are what are they're going to be our limiting agents. They're going to be the agents that will stop us at that line where we are actually going to move forward. And they will tell us, hey, hang on, where are you going? Go back. These questions are like I call them those barriers that we create for ourselves. Every time we think, every time we go into our mind and we listen to those thoughts, especially those thoughts that are telling us to, not telling us, they're kind of, or telling us that we're not who we think we are, or we don't have it in us to be that person, to achieve those goals, to achieve those desires that we have. And these are all, like, this is our mind talk. This is our fear stopping us from moving forward. Whether it's fear of failure or fear of success, the result is the same. That fear, both fears I had, and those fears stopped me at that time from moving forward with any of the ideas that I had. So what did I do? Because the minute I realized that I was doing this to myself, and believe me, I was doing it. Nobody was doing it on my behalf, for me or to me. I was doing all of this. I was the one sabotaging all my life. I was the one sabotaging my whole experience. And as I was doing it, everyone else who is in my shoes, like few years back, if they are in my shoes today, if they are in those shoes, they would be doing exactly what I was doing. They would be like, if you are someone who is procrastinating today, that's how you would be doing it. Ask yourself, Why am I doing this? Why am I procrastinating all the time? And when you get the answer, the first thing that you want to remember is that you are aware that you have an answer and you have a problem. I don't like to use the word problem because for me, everything we go through is an experience and it's a learning. Everything that we expose ourselves to in our lives is an experience for us to learn from. It's not really a problem. I think it's actually a solution. Wherever we are, whenever we go through things in our lives, the way we look at them because we are in them is different than the way we look at them once we are out and we start digging and understanding. Oh, now I understand why I did that. Now I understand. I know what I was learning, because there's always a learning. Our whole life is a learning journey. It's a learning path. We are learning everything that we know. Everything that I know today, I learned because I put myself in very specific situations throughout my life to learn all these tricks and tips, I call them, as to how I can control the things that today I'm in total control of. And I might also be still needing, not might, for sure I need to learn more. For sure I want to learn more. For sure there's a lot out there that I still don't know, that I still want to learn. But I always ask myself, if I was still procrastinating until today, oh my God, where would I be? It's always something that comes to my mind, that if I hadn't stopped procrastinating, I would have regretted every single thing in my life. But today, that decision that I took because I became aware and because I understood why I was procrastinating. So just to go back, that awareness and asking the why. Why is a question that you always want to ask, because understanding the reasons behind everything is the core of figuring out how to move forward. So when I asked that why, and because I was aware, I was able and very consciously to take the decision to get myself out of my procrastination. And I left that station a long time back. And since I took that decision, my whole life shifted. My whole life became like literally a 180-degree shift. I started, like the first decision I took was, I'm going to work on me and I'm not going to stop. And I'm not going to procrastinate. And I'm not going to put anything in the shadows anymore. And I started working on myself so hard. I started learning. I spent so much money just to learn so many things about me, about how I can fix everything that needs to be fixed, and how I can thrive and how I can move from that Maysoon that was procrastinating, that was stuck, to becoming this Maysoon who is today sharing all this knowledge that she had put together because she had done the work, because I decided that this is it. I'm never going back there, and I don't talk about going back there anymore. The only reason I'm talking about it today is because I want to show you that it's doable. That if I did it, so can you. my journey with procrastination is the journey that actually got me to move from who I was to who I am today. And that's what I mean when I say that everything that we go through is a solution and it's not a problem. If I hadn't go through that phase in my life where I was procrastinating and where I was repeating those mistakes over and over and over again, I wouldn't have known that I had an issue. I wouldn't have known that I can become better. I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned about myself first and foremost, to become the new me, to become the new person, to become that person who knows not to procrastinate, who knows that if something happens and there is procrastination in kind of being cooked, that I would know, I would see it happening and I would stop it, because now I'm aware and I know the symptoms and I know the patterns and I understand where, how, why, and when it can start and what triggers can start something like that. And I learned all of this because I wanted to get out, because I figured if I'm stuck there, I will never be able to do anything that I desire. I will never be able to achieve any of my goals, especially the goals that I had then, because I was procrastinating on those goals. And I still have some of those goals to do. One day, I realized that I also was putting myself in a place where I was asking so much of me. I was expecting so much of me. I was putting myself in a place where I would be asking me to do things that at that time were not possible for me to do. And yet, and this is why I also procrastinated. My expectations were so high from who I am, from who I was. And today, when like not, or working on your procrastination and becoming the no procrastinator, this is my mantra, I always use it. My mantra is, I don't do procrastination and I don't do perfection. This is my mantra. Try it. It works like a miracle. So I don't do procrastination and I don't do perfection. But to get to this point in my life, I had to go through procrastination and I had to go through thinking that I wanted perfection and thinking that I actually can get perfection. And the minute I decided that, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to get out of this, and there's no going back, I put myself in that track, and that was it. That was it. I learned. I dug and I understood everything that was happening within me that was causing me to do or to sabotage my life during that whole year. And those were a lot of those were my limiting beliefs. So I started understanding what were the things that were limiting me. This digging inside to understand, that was one of the things that helped me get out of procrastination, so that I am able to today do the things that I desire, really achieve the goals that I want to achieve. And today I know, because I've done all of this work, because I understand where my limitations were, and I completely removed them. And with time, we always have things popping up in our lives, and how we deal with them is a very important thing that we also learn when we start working on ourselves and we start digging. And again, the main reason why all of this happened with me was the fact that I was procrastinating. So when I stopped and when I started working on who I was, and when I started really digging to understand why this was happening and the things that I discovered then, these are the things that today are helping me to really embrace my potential and know that there are so many things that I can do. There's a lot that I can give. And if I was able to do this, any other person going through that same process, going through that understanding in their life, that where they are today is only a solution and is only a teaching and it's only a phase that once they are aware of and they realize that this is it, it's here, and I can see it, I can understand it, and I know that it exists, that awareness is the first thing or the first step in that ladder that will take you out of that situation. No matter what the situation is, this doesn't only work on procrastination, it works on anything else. If you are going through a phase in your life where you are going through a depression, which I also went through, by the way. So all of this, and I went through it also because like procrastination and depression and anxiety and heart palpitations, just and those negative thoughts that you have all the time, all of these are symptoms of you being stuck in. And when I say stuck, you're literally stuck in your own mind. You're the one who is like, that stuckness is coming from your own mind. Exactly how my procrastination was coming from my own mind. It's kind of like, when you think of thoughts, those thoughts, anything that you think of has brings a very specifically a chemical reaction in your body. Like your positive thoughts, they create a chemical reaction in your body that will bring out your jolly mood, your happiness, your smile. And when you think negative thoughts, they also have a chemical reaction in your body that will make you feel down and sad and stuck and zero energy. So it's all happening here, even with the procrastination. Going back to that, and why today I wanted to talk about it. Because I personally had an amazing 2022, right? And when you are moving from one year to another, it's like moving from one season to another. You wanna always remember the things that you have learned in that season, or the how was the how was that culture that you did throughout that season? What were the fruits? What did you plant? And if you were procrastinating in that season, this could be your trigger to go back and look at that season and see if this is what you were doing. Were you always excited about things and then suddenly you stop and you just put them in the somewhere in the back of your mind and you kind of like close that drawer? Sometimes it pops up open, but then you close it again. Have you been doing that? Is this something that you are familiar with? Have you been thinking of becoming something and doing something and, changing things in who you are and wanting to become a new person, and then suddenly, you go back to the same person and you fall back in the same traps and you start doing the same things over and over again, getting you to do the same mistakes over and over again, because it's just a vicious circle. We're just going round and round and round and round. Are you that person? Was this how that season was for you? And every end of every season, we reflect and we see and we look at the produce. Like, what did we get out of this season? If we got the good, juicy fruits, kudos to us. Amazing stuff. Brilliant. Beautiful. But if there are no fruits, means there's something missing. It means there's something wrong. It means that plantation didn't really work out well for us. And when we see that, when we reflect on that and start seeing this, it means, first of all, number one, we start being aware that there was something wrong. Something happened that, damaged the whole season for us. So that awareness is the number one thing that we want to have in order to move forward. And the second thing, once we are reflecting and once we are looking at that season, and when we see that the results were not so good, and we know that there's something wrong, then we start asking the big question. Why? What happened? What did I do wrong? What was the main thing that didn't work out? And why did I do this? Because again, remember, you are the one in control. You are the one doing all of this. Even when you are thinking of good or bad, when you are thinking of happy or sad, when you are thinking of joy or misery, you're the one doing that thinking. No one is inflicting that thinking on you. You're the one responsible for those thoughts. I'll give you an example. One of the things that I did when I stopped procrastinating, for example, is I stopped watching the news. And it helped me big time. Oh my God, it made such a huge difference. Because watching the news was for me a way of procrastinating. It was my getaway from the most important things that I needed to be focused on at that time. So I would put those things aside and I would focus on the news. I would focus on watching TV, or sometimes binge watching like series on Netflix or Prime TV or what have you. I remember at one point in time, I used to just not even sleep because I was binge watching TV to finish a series, or just, to be away from the most important things that I needed to focus on. That's procrastination. That's like the biggest way you can find out that you are procrastinating is if you are doing all of this. If you're putting the most important things aside and you are focused on the trivial stuff, you are focused on the things that will actually make zero difference in your life. The things that will really get you nowhere. Like watching the news, like watching TV, like being on social media all the time. Like following people and wanting to be like people and comparing yourself to that and this and that and this. Instead of focusing on you, on who you are and where you are and what you want and why you want the things that you want and why you want to do the things that you want to do. Your why, again, I will always come back to this. Your why is like a major thing that you want to keep on remembering. So that I stopped, my life changed. I stopped being around negative people. My life changed. My procrastination, like it was, how to say, I mean, it's not exactly the solution for procrastination to stop, but it is a major way in that direction. Like, again, the first thing though is that you want to be aware, that you want to know that you're procrastinating, because you could be thinking, oh yeah, but I watch TV all the time, but I'm not putting anything, or I'm not procrastinating on anything. And then suddenly you reach a point in your life where you start thinking, oh my God, I haven't done anything. Where am I? Where are my accomplishments? Where are my goals? I wanted to do this. I never got to do that. And you reach that point and then you think, oh my God. Then you start realizing that you have been procrastinating for a long time, my friend. Not just now. If you reach a point where you start thinking, what did I do in my life? Like, what are my accomplishments? And you find no answers, you will know that you have been procrastinating, that's for sure. Because we all come to this world with a lot of intention, there's a lot that we want to do. And a lot of us go through their lifetimes without even realizing that they came here to do very specific things. And to give back and to be a person who, when we leave, because we will at one point in time, there's a legacy that we are leaving behind us. We all want to be thinking that way. We all want to be alert in that way. Because we all came here to achieve something. We all came here for a very specific reason, for a very specific intention. And when we realize that intention, when we remember it, because it's always been there, but the minute we remember it, then we start working on who we are. Procrastination is one of our ways to make us forget why we are here and what are the things that we came here to do. So procrastination will keep us in those shadows and will make us stuck where we are instead of realizing that, wow, I have that goal and I'm going to achieve it. And that's how leaving procrastination will help you, or getting out of procrastination will help you achieve your most desired goals. And that's why when you are out of your procrastination, you are able to see your potential. You are able to know what are the things that you can do. You will realize that you have so much potential that has been hidden because of that specific procrastination that you are doing. And that specific procrastination that you are doing was leading you to being stuck, or one of the things that were leading you to being stuck. So you didn't know you had all that potential. I didn't know I had all this potential. Well, I knew, I just didn't remember until I stopped procrastinating, until I put my mind to it and I said, you know what, I'm going to go all the way with this. And when I said I'm going to go all the way with this is where I reached. And I still have a lot to go, because I see there's no end actually, but I see what's happening next. I see what's coming for me next. And from the smile on my face, you can realize that it's something beautiful. Because now I know, because now I'm aware. And I am the one controlling every step of the way. Nothing and no one is controlling that for me. I'm the one controlling it. And today, when I look back, I have zero regret that I decided to get myself out of that situation, that I decided to give myself the benefit of the doubt and in becoming who I am today, just by, taking that decision and moving forward and not looking back. And I want to give you a trick. The best way that will help you, at least for me, this is how it worked, how to stop looking back, is when you start working on yourself and when you start working on your limiting beliefs. I realized that there was something always keeping me back and always like taking me back to where I used to be, or to where I used to have issues. And that's something, and I'm gonna say, I mean, it wasn't part of what I wanted to say, but it just came as a message. That's something that is very important, is actually forgiveness. And I realized when I went through my whole journey to reach here today, that when I went and dug inside to find out what were the beliefs that were limiting me from moving forward, the beliefs that were creating that fear of success, that fear of failure, the beliefs that were making me feel that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't really know better, that who am I, all those beliefs. I realized that there are so many things that were happening and that happened to me in my life that I needed, and these were things that were caused by circumstances and by people, and most of the time the trigger is me, even when I was a child. And the reason why I'm saying this is because forgiveness, when you go through this journey and when you decide that this is what you want to do for yourself, forgiveness is going to be a big thing. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to forgive you. You want to forgive yourself. And again, this wasn't part of the topic today, but it just came through that I want to share this. It's very important. And this is what really made me go all the way, because I was seeing those situations. I was learning about my life. I was learning about all my virtues that I needed to learn, that I still need to learn, the virtues that I actually learned already. And then I realized that along the way, with everything that I've put myself through to learn, I also needed to forgive myself. And when I forgave myself, the ball started rolling and I could easily forgive everyone else who might have hurt me in my life, but I have to tell you, it's the same thing as procrastination. Those hurts are my teachings, they are my learnings. If I hadn't been hurt, I wouldn't have learned. If I hadn't been in those shoes, I wouldn't be in my shoes today. And we all go through this in our life. So, just to remind you, if you are procrastinating today, and if you realize that you are procrastinating today, getting yourself out of that has so many benefits. But first, the 3 benefits that I wanted to focus on today is you will be able to achieve the goals that you most desire. You will be able to tap into your potential because now you know what your potential is. You're not stuck in that procrastination anymore. You can see your potential. And you won't have any regrets. What if I wasn't able? Or what if I lose this chance? Or if I had done it, if only I had done it. If only I managed to do it. Those thoughts, you will not have them anymore when you are out of that state of procrastination, or out of that station, I call it. And you put yourself on that train towards prosperity, towards abundance, towards the sky is the limit. That's a very common saying, but it is true when you realize and you take that step forward. And this is my invitation to you today. My invitation to you today is, if you are in that place where you are procrastinating and you feel you are stuck and you really have you have the knowing that you are stuck, but you just don't know how to get out of there, or you think you know but you still need some help, reach out. My invitation to you is to let me know, and I will get on a free call with you. We will talk about your situation. I will try to understand where you are in this season in your life, and I will give you all the support that I can for that very specific, those topics that we're going to be talking about, those situations that you are going through. And if I see that I can help you even more, and if you see that I can put a plan for you to get out, like literally get out of there and become the champion that you really, truly, truly deep down inside are, you know it, you just want to show it, you just want to let it go out, you just want to reveal it, let me know in the message. Say, I don't do procrastination. I think it's a long sentence, but because I want you to start that mantra for yourself. Put I don't do procrastination in the messages below. And I'll make sure I'll reach out to you and we can have this free call. I'll dive in to your situation. You can tell me everything that you want to tell me. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how I can help you, because I know I can help you. And if we can work together on something even bigger and take you even further, I will show you how working with me looks like. So if this is something that is interesting to you and you're up for it, just write, I don't do procrastination in the comments below, and I'll make sure I will reach out to you. And with that, I'm going to leave you for the day, and I wish you an amazing rest of this Monday. It's a blessed day. And again, I hope this year gets you out of wherever you are into a way much better place, an amazing place. And I hope that we all thrive in 2023. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you next week. Ciao, ciao.